It's Ollie here at the Botanical Cuisine, and it's January, so you want to eat healthy, right? But what you really want is pasta. So I'm going to show you how to make the healthiest pasta possible. It's a simple kale pesto that you can make it yourself at home in 20 minutes and just using one pot. Or, well, two if you want. Right, let's check it out.
So these are the ingredients we'll need for this vibrant dish, and it begins and ends with kale. However, this isn't just any kale, this is its sexy Italian cousin, Cavolo Nero. I got that one, get away. Nutritional yeast is going to bring the nuttiness that Parmigiano Reggiano would provide, but we're going to combine it with the delicate fattiness that pistachios bring to the party. Our sweetness is going to come from some sautéed cherry tomatoes, which one seems to have gone missing already, and of course a good bronze dye cut pasta. I'm using spaghetti. Finally, to bring a peppery boost of fragrance to the dish, some Greek basil. So, let's get started with the star. I always recommend getting full leaf kale. This way, preparation is easiest. No need to mess around with a knife to remove the tough bitter stem, but instead some primal hands-on tearing. Simply grip the stem and pull upwards, and the head leaf will slide cleanly off. Now, rinse and repeat until you have a full bowl of lovely leaves. The deep colour is going to make an absolutely vibrant sauce, you'll see later. When you have a big bowl, bunch them all up and tear them in half for manageability. And what you're left with is a lovely fluffy bowl of lovely greens. Now I'm going to place a pot of water on the boil. I like to fill about halfway up to concentrate the starch at a later point. Simply place on high heat and cover. Next, the cherry tomatoes. With a sharp knife, I'm going to pass through the middle, leaving me with simple halves, exploding the seeds. When you're going to saute these, they're going to become super sweet and absolutely delicious against the rich creamy sauce. This is my answer to Parmigiano Reggiano. Let's call it Botanizan. My favourite nut to use for this is pistachio, but I also enjoy walnuts, and it works on any Italian dish and replaces parmesan perfectly. First, I'm going to toast my nuts. Simply bring a dry pan to a gentle heat until fragrant and your whole house is filled with a gentle aroma of pistachios. Look how beautiful they are. I love the green colour. It adds to the ultimate sauce colour as well. Now, with one small handful of pistachios and 2 tablespoons of yeast, I'm going to whiz in a good blender. Remember, when you're blending this, you can always add more nutritional yeast and pistachios. Keep tasting your food until it tastes good to you. Now, when we blitz it to a uniform crumb, what we're left with is quite literally gold dust. Look at this beautiful parmesan. Botanizan. Can't technically call it that, I guess. Now, add some salt and some white pepper if you have it to increase the complexity of flavour, and you're left with the most beautiful topping for any Italian dish or Greek. Anything with tomatoes is beautiful. Enjoy. Now, when your water is a boil, salt it until like the sea, which is the classic Italian guidelines for how salty you want your pasta water to be. Of course, when you're boiling your pasta, you want to season it, much like how we're going to blanch our kale now. Simply place all of the leaves into the boiling water for 30 seconds until they turn a vibrant forest green. This is going to take away some of the bitterness of the natural raw kale and also some of the squeakiness to make it into a more uniform sauce. When it's reached that perfect colour, simply pull out with a spider and place aside in a separate bowl. You can also shock this in ice water if you really want. It will maintain some of that green colour, but I always find that it actually naturally lasts anyway. Okay, now let's make the pesto. Add the rest of your pistachios to the pot, some salt, and of course, a little bit of water. What we're going to do here is we're going to blend it to make the base of our pesto. It's going to be almost like a cream cheese made from the pistachios, or a very thick nut milk. When that's done, start adding your kale leaves into the pot, but remember, the amount of water you need at the end will vary because the cooked kale carries a different amount of water, so try adding the water bit by bit and blending until you have a smooth, vibrant pesto. Add some rich, lovely, fragrant Italian or Greek, in this case basil, to the mix to bring some through of that lovely classic basil pesto flavours, and it will add a complete vibrancy to it. Here you can see I'm adding a little bit of water by a little bit of water. I choose to include the whole thing so you can see how delicate I'm being. I don't get it perfect first time, and no one does. You'll have to add it slowly and slowly to see what the perfect texture is. Now, when you think that it's the ideal texture, all you have to do is just finish with a small amount of nutritional yeast, salt, and this is a very important part. Give it a good few glugs of olive oil on top. This is going to emulsify the sauce and bring it that lovely fattiness and creaminess to it on top of the nuts. Also, of course, you want that good high quality olive oil flavor. This olive oil isn't going to be cooked, so I'd use a nice dipping oil, something that is definitely extra virgin and ideally Greek. And there we go. Look at that lovely sauce. Guys, let's talk pasta for a second. Now, when you go to the supermarket, there are thousands of pastas on offer, but what you want and what's very important is to find a high quality pasta that's been made with the bronze key. This gives the exterior a rough texture which picks up the sauce and releases starch, which makes it creamier, and also it feels lovely. Oh god, yes. Next, place your pasta into the water. If your vessel is large enough to place sideways, then do. This will ensure that your pasta boils evenly and each length of the noodle is perfectly cooked. Mine doesn't, so here's a trick. I just twisted it and placed it in, allowing it to submerge into the water at the fastest time possible. I'm also encouraging it down with just a spider. Now, for your tomatoes, get a good olive oil and place on medium-high until it's shimmering. Now, what I've done is obviously I've halved the tomatoes earlier, and if you want to be delicate, you can place them face down into the oil and leave them. I'm not a delicate kind of guy, so I'm just going to introduce them all into the pan at once. But what you have to prepare for if you do this is the water is going to escape rapidly and it's going to flambe like that. But that does alternatively make you look really cool, and anyone watching will immediately want to tear off your chef apron. This is a family show, I don't know why I said that. Introduce some salt. This will also develop the sweetness of the tomatoes and bring out that lovely flavour of the natural. I've also placed some balsamic vinegar here. If you want, you can drizzle this on top and it will further develop the sweetness of the tomato. Once it's reduced down and you think it's at nice temperature, move and set aside. At this point, when your pasta is just 1 minute undercooked and it's still very al dente, you want to take a cup of the starch water. You can even save it all if you want. It's valuable in any dish in the future. Drain your pasta, introduce it back into the pot, and at this point, grab your pesto that you made earlier and introduce it to the sauce. Now, best friends are packed together. What a reunion. Now, at this point, you want to give it a stir so that all the pesto sauce is in the pot and you can introduce it to the pasta and make it cling. By stirring the pasta, you're also going to be releasing more starch, which will make the sauce even creamier. But here I'm going to pour just a couple tablespoons of the starch water in, and the rest is going back into the pot. With these blender cups, a lot of the time they can get stuck onto the side of the pot and they need some encouragement to release. All you have to do at this moment is just give it a good shake, pour in the rest, which I'm pretty confident it needs, and it will soak it up. By keeping it on a low heat you can even just make sure that the pasta absorbs it. What this does is it's going to flavour the inside of the pasta noodle with the sauce. Okay, to plate, twist into a tall nested tower, take your lovely sweet cherry tomatoes and just nestle them into the top of it. Take your Botanizan and sprinkle until beautiful gold dust on the top. We want our sauce to be looking like green velvet draped over the beautiful bodice of the noodle. And here we have it. Relish in the idea that you've made something truly special that looks pleasing to the eye and even better to the mouth. Enjoy.